Jason, you and I started the company in 2011, started selling whiskey in 2012, but starting in 2014, a good 10 years ago now, we bottled our very first American single malt from the Westland Distillery. And
Absolutely.
and
Proud
since
moment.
then, whether it's through Single Cask Nation online or through one of our whiskey jubilees, we continue to champion Westland.
I I would include global retail on that list.
Thank you very much. Jess would be
You're
so
very
happy to
welcome.
hear you say that. So happy to hear you say that. Uh, and, just rewinding the clock back a little bit, some nation members, people who are watching this, may remember back in 2016, as part of the Whiskey Jubilee Seattle festivities, we had invited about 25 nation members to the distillery to pick a cask of Westland with us for bottling. And we did that.
Mhm.
And I think it ended up being a 2 or 3 year old unpeated new charred oak, 5 malt
Yeah. Yeah.
blend, right?
Yeah.
Or five, not a blend, but a 5 malt single malt, right? And fast forward then 7 years to November of 2023, and we all went back to the Westland Distillery, this time without a jubilee, however, with 25 nation members, and even our very dear Jess Lomas flew out to be a part of this.
Very much so.
And together, we went through 3 different Single Cask Nation whiskeys. One which was a 9-year-old, fully matured in Sauternes, another one that was Sauternes Cask matured, and then a third one, which I wanna say was, Oloroso or maybe Oloroso finish. And almost unanimously, we selected, as a group, this whiskey right here. 9 years, fully matured, and fresh Sauterne, unpeated, 5 malt blend.
Well, you're busy talking there about the first Westland we selected back in 2014. We're now sitting here with a finished product. And by finished, I mean complete, full
Yeah.
maturation. A complete product that was distilled September of 2014. This whiskey charts our relationship with the distillery. This
That's
has been in cask
amazing.
the entire time we've had a relationship with Westland.
What a wild thing to think about, right?
Right? Right?
Oh, man.
And
So
and so
yeah.
very quickly, when we'll get to this precise whiskey in just a second, but Sauternes is clearly a
Mhm.
favorite of yours. I've grown
Oh, yeah.
very fond of it over the years. I think of our English whiskey company, where Rebecca Harris, Becky Harris, Catoctin Creek, named that one of her desert island drams, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like remarkable. And so Sauternes. So first question is, what does Sauternes mean to you? And
Yeah.
then we can jump into this exact dram.
Yeah, sure. So for those that don't know, Sauterne or Sauternes, depending on how you want to pronounce it, it's a French dessert wine, right? So it's
Mm,
really heavy, really syrupy dessert wine. Typically not cloying though, despite its heft,
yeah.
despite the sweetness coming through is not cloying, and quite often it delivers notes of dried apricot and roasted nuts and even cream cheese, kind of like dairy forward notes. Sometimes a little farmyard to offset that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sweetness
Oh
as
yeah.
well, right?
Oh yeah. I
Um,
poured this in Texas, and someone who's a big Westland fan
yeah,
had said butterscotch covered mushrooms.
right. Yeah, there you go.
And
I
I think
love
that
that. Yeah,
really speaks to what we've talked about as fecundity, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um, dank is a way to say it.
yeah.
Earthy is another way
Earthy,
to say
right?
it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think this has got sweetness. I think it's got earthiness. It's clearly rich, coming and going. You know, you talked about apricots a second ago. The nose for me has got warm apricot jam, right? You
Yeah.
talked
Oh,
about
sure.
nuttiness. I've got pecan pie. I've got walnut skins, right? Oh,
Yeah. The IKEA lover in me who always comes home with the jar of lingonberry jam gets lingonberry jam in this. I'm sure there's a Swedish word for it. But it
meatballs.
meatballs, I think that's it. I think the Swedish word for lingonberry jam is meatballs. But here, listen. What I love about this, despite how present the Sauternes cask maturation is, and it is quite pleasant. You look at the flavometer and there's 6 on the oak, right? So the oak, the Sauterne
Mhm.
wood is bringing a lot of flavor. There's still behind it all that chocolatey presence to it, right? This is that Westland 5 malt blend. So they're using a bit of chocolate malt in there that sort of really ties that sweetness together and grounds it with a bit of earthiness coming through.
Yeah, and looking at the earthy on the flavometer, it's got a 3. This is one of those ones on any given day,
Yeah.
you could give that a 4, right? Like, depending on what your context is, you might go as high as a 5,
Yep.
depending what
Yep.
else you're drinking with or having a good time with friends. But
Sure.
there's at least a base 3 in there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The reason I don't think we went higher on the flavometer was the sweetness from the Sauternes keeps pushing back against the earthy. It doesn't become an earth bomb. It's
Mm-mm.
just the earth sits in concert with the
Yeah.
sweetness.
Oh, but there's the yeah, without a doubt. And it's funny, right? It's one of these whiskeys where the notes keep on coming at you from left, right, and center. And at one side across the palate, I'm like Mexican dark chocolate, and then I'm like, oh no, there's the apricots again. Then there's some shaved apricots, or not apricots, but
Shaved almonds.
shaved almonds, if you will. Um, it
Yeah.
really is. It's doing so many things all at once without it being an impenetrable ball of flavor. You know what I mean?
Or,
Yeah.
or muddled, right?
Muddled,
Where
yeah.
you, right? I'm sitting here and I'm getting earthy meets sweet, meets rich, meets nutty, but they're all sitting, playing so nicely in the same sandbox. And then as it transitions, there's a little bit of the ground grey pepper, right?
Mm,
It
mhm,
starts to release the oak quality or the
mm.
char quality. Maybe even the chocolate component of the 5 malt starts to get released as it transitions. Then it's dark chocolate. Then it's soft oak spice, just fading away. Oh, I remember
Mm.
selecting this at the distillery and being so excited to release it to the nation. And now here we are, 7 months later, sitting on the precipice of the nation getting their hands on this.
It's I've lived my life trying to be the contrarian, and I remember on the day of selecting this, I knew it was the one, but I didn't want it to be the one because everybody was selecting it, so I was thinking, "Oh, maybe it should be this other one," and the more I taste it, the more I sit with it. I'm like, maybe sometimes it's not good to be the contrarian. Maybe sometimes, you know, a billion people are right.
But it's rich, it's round, it's unctuous, it's a little bit dank, it's a little bit earthy, but it's a good bit sweet. Like, it really, it's telling a lot of stories. And listen, you and I have been championing American single malt for so long now. That's a decade,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
That's a decade of championing American single malt. And I would stand by this example of it day in and day out in
Yeah.
any country, anywhere around the globe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. This is especially in countries outside of the US that don't really understand what American single malt is. I think this is a great example to say this is what can be done. Right. This is how beautiful it can be. So
And thank you to the nation for helping us select this one.
People flew in to be a part of this, and part of the live podcast that we did as well. Like, please go
Mhm.
and check out season 7. I forget the number of the episode that it was, but check it out, season 7, and it was live with nation members. Um,
You and I always say this. I'll say this,
yeah,
and then we can get some details, and then we can get out of here.
yeah, good.
Number one is the ABV on this is 52.3, so very accessible. Which
Mm,
leads me to my second point, which is you and I talk about in making a selection of a cask, would we reach for it? Would we pour it for friends coming over? This is a yes and a yes. And there's not a third part to it, but there's a third yes,
yeah,
right? Like this is absolutely delectable. I'm I'm proud of all of our Westlands. We haven't, to my mind, we haven't put out a bad Westland. To my mind, Westland haven't made a bad Westland.
there you go.
And so I'm excited to share this more, pour this more, give access to it. Noon Eastern, Thursday, June 6th, along with 5 other Single Cask Nation releases. It's gonna be absolutely champion.
And just to remind people, this will not be found on store shelves. When you see labels like
Ta-da!
this is for online only. So when June 6th comes, that's going to be singlecastnation.com. It's an online release. And just a quick reminder to those out there, we've got a $300 free shipping. Um, it's not a special, it's just sort of a new
Plateau,
tier, right? Say that again?
plateau.
A plateau, right? So if you get this Westland and some of our other American whiskeys, or perhaps some of the single malts that we have on the website, or if there's some rum left, add it up.
Yep. 100
$300 or more, you get free shipping.
187 bottles at $125 each. Buy it, buy multiples, add to it, get the range. June 6th, 2024, noon Eastern. Let's celebrate America. Let's celebrate American spirit. Let's prepare for the best July 4th we've had. Cheers,
Cheers to
Joshua.
that.
Cheers, nation.
Oh, gotta make this go away.